Headliner Nation, I have some great news for you. At one point in time, more than likely, you found yourself making several fantasy football mistakes that would tank your season. But luckily enough, we've worked together on those things, and you don't have to worry about those anymore. We have righted those wrongs, and you have become fantasy football studs for one reason or another. And those mistakes that you once used to make, you're not making them anymore. In fact, you're sitting back, you're relaxing, watching your league mates make these mistakes, saying,
they don't know what the they're doing.
I decided to poll the nation. I went into Discord and I made a members only post asking our members what exactly are some common mistakes that you used to make all the time that you don't make anymore. And it's not shocking that a lot of the things that we saw coming from our members are things that we see in the comments all the time. But our members don't make these mistakes anymore. They have learned through trial and error, through watching our videos, and through talking with Jake, myself, and other members of our community that they don't make these mistakes anymore, that these are common issues that they have gotten past, and now they find way more success than what they used to. Whether it be just finishing in the top half of your league, making the playoffs, whether it be actually securing some fantasy football championships, monies, trophies, or whatever else it is. But there is a feeling that is way better than any trophy or amount of money that can be won. It's watching your league mates continue to make all of these same errors and mistakes. And you know what you get to do, Headliner Nation? You get to look at them and say, my league mates don't know what the they're doing. Mistake number one, it's panicking too early in the season. And now we still have a ways to go before we get to the season. And we're going to talk about some common draft mistakes as we go through the rest of this show. But I really feel like this one may be one of the most important ones that we talk about all the time. And Notorious Dre and Sean, you absolutely agreed with it. You gotta stay consistent with your thought process and not overcomplicate things in the beginning of the season. Now, really the biggest issue that people have way too early in the season, it's panicking over players that just aren't producing as well as they would like to see. And you can see from the comments on the screen, we had issues dropping Justin Jefferson during his rookie season after only a couple of games. Raise your hand out there if you were also one of those people. One of the most notorious names from this past season, though, has to be Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews was the tight end 41 after the first 4 weeks of the season. And believe it or not, he ended up finishing the season as the tight end 5. But he's not the only big name that through the first 4 weeks of last season wasn't really putting it all together yet. Bijan Robinson was the RB21 after 4 weeks. He finished the season as the RB4. How many of you thought after 4 weeks Bijan wasn't worth it again? He wasn't the only name, though. Take a look at Ladd McConkey. He was the wide receiver 33 after 4 weeks, finished as the wide receiver 12. Jackson Smith-Njigba. He was the wide receiver 39, finished as wide receiver 10. How many times have you seen it in your league? An owner panics super early in the season and maybe trades a player for not nearly what they're worth or just drops them altogether, just like Mark Andrews last season. Now, I will admit, you had every right to drop Mark Andrews last year. Through the first 5 weeks of the season last year, Mark Andrews' highest point total in any week was 7.5 points. And he also had 2 weeks where he had 0 points. But from week 6 through week 18, he averaged 12 fantasy points per game in half PPR leagues and was the tight end 5 the rest of the way. Yes, Mark Andrews definitely was droppable, but sometimes maybe you shouldn't just cast guys aside right away. What if you could find a tight end to fill in for Mark Andrews, leave Mark Andrews on the bench, and hopefully he picks it up at some point in time? If you did that, you ended up being just fine at the tight end position. If you rage dropped him though, woo, I'll tell you what, it's almost like
they don't know what the they're doing.
Mistake number 2. You need to take your mid-round and late-round picks way more serious. There are a lot of fantasy owners, when they go into their drafts, they're so hyper focused on their first 2, 3, or 4 picks that they really don't think about their strategy in the mid to late rounds. Crazy Patel and LKW Sports hit the nail on the head when they gave us this common mistake that they used to make all the time. You need to take those mid-round picks and those late-round picks way more serious. Yes, fantasy leagues could be won or lost based on your first couple of picks, but more than likely they won't be. Your season is made or break depending on how well you draft later on. And it could be several different positions that you're looking at. Maybe it's a high upside wide receiver 3 and wide receiver 4. A couple of guys that can either switch in and out or help you during bye weeks and injuries if you need them. What about your running back handcuffs? You don't want to get left in the dust when your running back goes down with an injury. So looking for your running back handcuffs in the mid to late rounds can help save your season. Or maybe you've decided to deploy a late round strategy for quarterback and tight end. You're going to need to find your starters at this point as well. But who are the best choices? Here's a list of players that was drafted in the 8th round or later in 2024. And this list is actually insane because if you drafted at least 2 or 3 of these guys, you probably finished really high in the regular season and made a run to a championship. Look at who we've got. Brian Thomas Jr., Jaden Daniels, Cortland Sutton, Ladd McConkey, and Jamison Williams were all 8th round picks last season. In the 9th round, you could have gotten Brock Bowers or Chase Brown. In the 11th round, Chuba Hubbard and J.K. Dobbins, both very serviceable running backs. And then the latest guy that was drafted, Bucky Irving, all the way back in the 12th round. Every single one of these players listed finished the season top 19 at their position. So you either found a tight end 1, a running back 1 or 2, or a wide receiver 1 or 2. And if you decided to go after Jaden Daniels, which was one of our biggest draft values of last season, you were really solid at the quarterback position. Names like that are exactly why you will win your league, even if your first couple of picks don't end up panning out or you deal with injuries. If you took your mid-round picks way more serious, more than likely you drafted 2 or 3 of these players last year and you reaped the rewards. But if you're looking at your league mates and they didn't draft any of these guys, you can kind of take a look back on the season and say,
they don't know what the they're doing.
Mistake number 3, tuning out during the offseason. Kenny and Sean are preaching the same exact thing that I have been preaching, Jake has been preaching, and our entire team has been preaching for a few years now. As soon as the calendar hits January, for some reason, tons of people start unsubscribing. In fact, we have lost as many as 6,000 subscribers over the course of an off season. Now, they end up resubscribing later on, but from what we've been told by people, they don't want football clogging up their recommended videos. They don't want a bunch of fantasy football stuff showing up when it's not even football season. And we've tried to tell people, when you pay attention in the off season, you are finding information that your league mates will never see or read. Because by the time they come back in August, all this information has been buried and you're already several steps ahead of them. Now, I will say this, I think Headliner Nation is starting to buy into that, because this offseason, we actually saw the fewest amount of lost subscribers that we have in several years. So thank you to everybody who has been sticking around. But the work is not over yet, because the season's going to be here before you know it. And you need to start diving into all of the off-season content so you're not behind when your league mates show up in August and then you're watching all of the same information as them. And this is where the real work is done, the nitty gritty. Now, there's a lot of casual fantasy football players, and that's fine. That is what this channel is based on. This channel is based on giving every single person that wants to play fantasy football the opportunity to be successful. So please don't take this as I'm looking down on casual players or I'm looking down on people who just don't care about football when football isn't on TV. This is all about setting yourself up for success. Me personally, when I do something, I want to do it to the best of my abilities. I'm not playing fantasy football just to do it. I'm playing fantasy football, yes, to have fun, but I want to bring home a championship. I want to shut up my coworker or a family member that has been ragging on me for seasons because I can't beat them, or a bunch of friends that make you go through the worst punishments every single offseason. This channel is here to help everybody out. But when you dedicate yourself to your craft and you take maybe an hour or two every week when you have time, maybe when you're on the toilet, maybe on the drive to work, whatever it may be, plug us in, listen or watch. Don't watch while you're driving, that is dangerous, but listen to the videos. Try to catch up on what we're doing. I don't expect you to sit down and watch every single video, but I guarantee you down in the comment section below, I'm going to ask the nation, I'm going to ask our members and subscribers and everybody else, does listening during the off season and does paying attention during the off season help you be more successful at fantasy football? If this video can get over 1,000 likes, then I'm going to pick someone from the comment section who has liked the video and subscribed to the channel to win a free fantasy football draft guide from us here in 2025. Now, if you've already bought your draft guide, great. If you win, we'll refund you your money. If you haven't bought one yet, then what are you waiting for? Because it's already available and ready for you to jump into to start preparing for the season. It's only $24.99, one of the best bang for your buck values in all of fantasy football. You will not pay less money for more information anywhere else on the web. So head on over to our website, tfhdraftguide.com, or there's a link down in the description of this video, and order yours now and hop on into it. If you end up winning any of our giveaways this offseason and you've already bought yours, then we'll refund you. If you haven't bought yours yet, keep your fingers crossed because maybe we'll be picking you then. Try to find a little time here or there just to stay caught up in all of the news this offseason. And when the time comes for the draft, you'll know your league mates have tuned out and you'll just get ready to say,
They don't know what the they're doing.
Mistake number 4, back to basics. Or maybe not. And Buck and Ben, they love to go deep. I'm talking about statistics. My bad, fellas. I didn't mean anything else by that. I'm talking about fantasy football stats. And you've been part of the Headliner Nation for a while now. You know that we love to go deep here too. We're not just looking at things on the top layer. We're going to dive into all the stats possible. We're going to tell you these are the ones you should look at. These are the ones that you really don't need to know much about. We'll put it all together in easily digestible information to help you out. Because if you're just going to look at box scores or you're just going to watch highlights on ESPN, you're not going to get the job done. Fantasy football is not easy. It's not. And a lot of people make it seem like it is. But in reality, when you do your homework, you're going to have a better chance at success. Now, sure, there's going to be some one-off scenarios that you're going to hate. There's always going to be a Jim from accounting. The only reason he's even in the league is because you needed to get to 10 people, and he was really all that was available. He forgot about the draft, auto-drafted, and won. What about your boy Billy from college? He still thinks that Friday nights are for the beer Olympics. He got way too drunk, drafted his team based on the shoe size of each player, and then he still won your league as well. Yes, there's always going to be Jims and there's always going to be Billies. But for every Jim and Billy, there are 15 members of Headliner Nation that did their homework and outperformed people like that because they were ready to roll. They knew what exactly they were looking for and they dove deep to find the numbers that truly helped us identify trends, outcomes, and high upside players. Yeah, fantasy football is a lot of luck, and you have to have some pretty decent luck to win a championship. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that are going to be like, Kyle, I scored the second most points in my league last year and I didn't even make the playoffs. Well, first off, everybody out here, take this advice. Your fantasy league should be dedicating the last playoff spot not to the team with a decent record, but to the team that scores the most fantasy points that didn't finish inside the playoffs. That's who actually deserves to be in. Creeping through box scores are only going to take you so far. Watching a couple of clips on ESPN or Fox News or YouTube or wherever you're getting information is only going to take you so far. It's knowing offensive line rankings. It's knowing who the most explosive running backs were last year, who's making the most out of their opportunities. That is going to be the type of research that helps you get across the finish line as the top point scorer and the champion of your league. And yes, numbers can be overwhelming. I hated math when I was in school. Absolutely hated it. Still do. But when it comes to football numbers in general, statistics, things of that nature, I don't have any issue with it. I bring it in and I process it like it's absolutely nothing, like it's second nature to me. So I understand why numbers would be overwhelming to somebody. And we try to do the best possible scenario and give you those numbers, but in easily digestible format so you understand it way better. And instead of just throwing all the numbers on the screen, we try to work through them with you so you know exactly what we're talking about. And then over time, you'll start to feel more comfortable with them, just like I have over the last several years. But there's at least 2 people in your league that only look at box scores, that only watch 30-second clips. And I'm sorry, Jim. I'm sorry, Billy. I didn't mean to pick on you in this video, but I guarantee everybody is looking at you guys and saying the same thing.
They don't know what the they're doing.
Mistake number 5, the experts. This is something that we have been preaching for years at the Fantasy Headliners. And my boy Jesse left a brilliantly funny comment, but still in its own right, very serious, about trying to dismiss people who call themselves experts. Because as we say here, there's no such thing as an expert when it comes to fantasy football. So what is an expert? By definition, an expert is a person who has a comprehensive knowledge and authoritative knowledge of a skill in a particular area. Okay, I could get why someone would argue, well, that means that somebody in fantasy football does their job and research and has a great knowledge and is Listen, you can't become an expert in fantasy football because at the end of the day, we're all digesting pretty much the same information. There are some people out there like us that find different approaches to that information to utilize it differently so we can find things that other people aren't looking at. But you can't really become an expert in an area that you legitimately have no control over and also at the same time have very little knowledge of. I mean, I spend my days doing this. This is my full-time job. I break down numbers, I do research, I watch film, I look at everything that you could possibly imagine to be the best that I can at my job. And not to toot my own horn, you're here watching, so I think a majority of the people would agree we're pretty good at what we do here. But at the end of the day, you know where I'm not at? I'm not in a meeting room with Arthur Smith asking him why in the world he won't give the ball to his superstars more often and why Cordero Patterson is getting touches over a guy like Bijan Robinson when he was still in Atlanta. And I don't get to see from Mike McCarthy why in the world he's running the ball on 3rd and more than 10 instead of drawing up a play for one of the best wide receivers in the league, CeeDee Lamb. At the end of the day, we don't get that type of knowledge. We don't know what the game plan is going to be, and we don't know if they're going to throw decoys out there or if this guy isn't going to be a part of it. So how do you become an expert in an area in which you will never have all the information? What we do is we take information, we provide it to everybody, and we help you make informed decisions. That's all we can do in fantasy football, is make informed decisions. The decisions that we feel are best for our team, backed up by numbers, data, and a thought process that more times than not lead to success. That's what it's like. That's how it should be. And nobody out there who calls themselves an expert is going to give you that type of information. They're going to be authoritative. They're going to say it's this way or the highway, and they're going to tell you that if you're not doing this, you're an idiot. But as we have said all video long today, if someone calls themselves a fantasy football expert, I hate to tell you,
They don't know what the they're doing.
Headliner Nation, I hope you found this video not just informative, but a little fun today as well. This was a fun one to do, and it gave us a little bit of a jump away from what we normally do, talking about the numbers and the stats and the players, and talk just more about fantasy football and what you can do to be more successful. Do me a favor, on the way out of here though, hit the like button for me. Don't forget 1,000 likes and we'll give away a draft guide. If you're new here to the channel, hit the subscribe button, stick around and see what else we have in store for you. And for everybody out there, turn on the bell notification so anytime we drop new content or go live, you'll know about it right away. Headliner Nation, I hope everybody stays safe and healthy, and I'll catch you on the next episode of the Fantasy Headliners.